everyone? What's that? Sure.
A couple of quick housekeeping items. The restrooms are open upstairs if you need to use the restroom. Please go ahead and sign in. I'll send this around with us tonight. And if you have not yet gotten a grapple ticket, please do this too. We got some great prizes for joining us tonight. It looks like the kiddos have gotten their hats and their prizes, so that's really great. We have more of those as well. Other announcement or just kind of question, is there anybody who would prefer Spanish translation?
¿Hay alguna persona que necesite servicios de interpretación?
Okay, great. Well, you're joining us anyways for tonight. We're prepared just in case. All right.
Okay, thank you. Welcome everybody to community meeting to talk about Fire Station 171. We're going to start with a few introductions here to start us off. Will be our new fire chief, Ken Gilliam. Chief, can you introduce yourself?
Ken Gilliam, been here about 90 days now, I think, and I brought up a few friends from work with me tonight.
And who are your friends?
Deputy Chief Vitia and the Battalion Chief Avondale, and I'm not going to hit the rest of them because I'm still learning.
There's a quiz.
I talked to most of them already. Yeah, I got Angel now. Or you guys certainly introduce yourself, but nonetheless.
Please go ahead.
Hello, my name is Giovanni Gomez. I'm a firefighter at 171 across the street.
Christy Coleman, engineer. 171.
I didn't know we were on point. Robert Angel, BSO, Station 175. And 37 with guys.
Ben, and then Sue England's our public education coordinator, and all of them are at your disposal tonight for questions and answers about the fire department. I know we're doing a little bit of a nickel tour opportunity afterwards as well. So
Yes.
I'm doing it.
Okay, and I'm James Milanese. I'm the city's projects administrator, the city manager's office. And also today,
I'm with Car with engineering for the city. I'm the project manager for the project.
and then everyone, the person who's put this all together.
Hi, Gina Gonzalez, here with Economic Development. We also have some members of our community.
Yes, we have our vice mayor.
Thank
Thank you. And Councilmember Pineda,
hi, Councilman Pineda.
Councilmember Solario, and Councilmember Nielsen. Thank you. All right, thank you everybody for coming today. We have a few slides to go over and we will offer up some opportunity for you to ask any questions. And as the fire chief said, please stick around to the end because there is a raffle and then a tour of the firehouse if you're interested.
Before we get started, is we are recording tonight's session. We also have a virtual audience for you guys, so
Thank you. So, oh.
sorry. I'm gonna do this to all my We also have kind of putting around some of the white cards. So if you have any questions or kind of comments on the presentation, feel free to write those down. He's gonna read those off later as we go through the Q&A session. That way too, if anybody's joining us remotely, they can hear us, because if you did test it out earlier, it's a little bit hard to hear through the back of it. So thank you so much.
Yes.
Lots of stuff.
Great. So we do have an agenda tonight. Like Jamie said, we are respectful of your time. So we're gonna talk about why we're here. We got a project that we want to get into in depth. We're gonna opportunity to answer some questions or give us some comments on the project. Be a short closing, and then again the raffle and the tours. We're really excited about those. So that's why we keep talking about them. So the mission tonight is we have a project about Fire Station 171, and we know it's an integral part of the Old Town community. And so that's why we invited the community here to learn about the project, to provide input on it, and to teach you about how you can reach out to us if you have questions during the project. So a little bit about Fire Station 175. It was constructed in 1985. And I wasn't around in Avondale at the time, but my understanding is it actually replaced another fire station that was on Western Avenue. So there's a long history of a Fire Station 171 in Old Town. It was remodeled in 2004. That also involved expanding it. As the fire station is in operation over time, and fire departments in over time, they have to change their rules and regulations about what's required in the fire station. And when you get a tour later, you'll see some of those improvements that they made in 2004. A couple years ago, we identified it didn't really meet the current needs of the fire station. Again, as the regulations change for what requirements are for our fire team, they're out there saving lives. We need to make sure that they have a safe environment to work in. It's falling behind those standards. And then there's also the question of growth. The fire station's needs, we know, are going to evolve in the future. And we've seen those trends, and we want to be anticipating them in the future. So we had a project initially that was going to actually relocate the fire station next to the resource center as part of an overall public safety facility. And council in the spring asked us to come back and talk about it. And so we did. We knew that there was a lot of concern from the community here and from the men and women who work at the fire station about leaving Western Avenue. So we presented 4 items to them in April, 4 options. The first was to continue with that relocation to next to the resource center. Another option was to find a new location somewhere along MC 85. A third idea was just to remodel it and expand it just like we did in 2004. And the fourth option was to build a new fire station on the site. Council overwhelmingly said keep it on Western Avenue. However, that being said, we weren't entirely sure we could do it. It's a tight space and what the new needs of the fire station. So we asked to do a little bit of a feasibility study, which I'll show you on the next slide. And we brought that back to council in June. They liked the general concept of what we were laying out for them. And so we promised them before we took even the next step, we'd come talk to you. So again, that's why we're here today. So this is a conceptual plan. So again, it's just a feasibility study. We have a pretty good idea now because we just opened the new fire station on Van Buren, Fire Station 175, what the needs of the fire department are for a fire station. So we kind of duplicated that model, figured out a way to fit it on the site. Again, this is a feasibility study. This doesn't mean how it will look when we are done with it. And it doesn't mean this is the building height or anything else. It just means can we fit the footprint. A couple key notes on this. We want to make sure we address Western Avenue. So one of the nice things about this is we maintained Western Avenue parking. We maintain the Western Avenue sidewalks. Should the city decide that we want to expand the festivals in front of the fire station, that still exists. If we had the fire trucks exiting onto Western Avenue, we kind of lose that functionality. That leads me to the next point, fire egress. Right now, the fire trucks leave onto 5th Street. They do a quick sharp right and then a quick left onto Belmont, and then they go their right or left. By angling it this way, the fire trucks can exit onto Belmont if that's the best option for them. We could also potentially control that intersection a little better. There's less pedestrians on 6th Street. So that's kind of the concept that really helped keep the walkability in Old Town, but also make sure that fire can respond promptly. And then we told the architect, we're like, you can tear down any buildings on the site that you want. You can tear down the carport. You can rearrange everything. Don't touch the park. And he came back and said, not only will I not touch the park, I'm going to leave it so we can expand the park. And so that's kind of what you see with a bit of a grass area. We recognize that A.B. Cernas Park is a valuable facet of this community. And we have the option, should we desire to expand the park right in front of the fire station. So there's some next steps. We have to hire an architect. So we're in that process right now. Rick Carr is our project manager. He's leading this process. Rick, can you give us a little bit of detail where we're at in that step?
Yeah, certainly. So we have released a request for qualifications for architects with experience in fire stations to submit to the city. Those are due in the next 2 weeks. And then we'll go through a process of evaluating them, selecting the shortlist, asking, doing interviews. Then we'll make our selection just in the early part of September.
If anyone's on the phone, Rick said we'll get an architect here in the early part of September. And then they're going to go into the design process. So they're going to come up with some concepts, some elevations of what the building can look like. We've already got some feedback from council on what some design elements are. Today in a little bit, I'm going to ask you to provide some concepts and some ideas of what you want to see in the new fire station. And then I want to touch on, we're doing what's called a phased demolition and construction. So I don't really have a mouse. At the top part where the current detention center and police station are right now, we are in design to relocate those 2 facilities behind the resource center. That's still going to happen as part of this project. But it's going to be in the way of the new construction. So we're going to tear down those two buildings. We're going to build a new fire station, and then we're going to demolish the existing fire station to make sure we have the egress. Because it's going to look like, again, if you look at this slide, where the detention center and fire station is up at the very top, it's kind of in the way. And then where they're coming in off 5th Street is where the current fire station is. So the plan here is to provide a new facility. And I neglected to mention, I talked about the future needs. Right now we have a 3-bay fire station. The 3-bay, if you go in there with your tour and you walk around, you'll see it's very tight space between the trucks. So imagine being a firefighter, you come in from a call, you got to take equipment on and off of there, and you got to do it and suck in your gut as you're walking past. And then there's no real space should the fire department needs grow and they need more equipment in there. So this allows us, should we go that way, to have that 4th bay. We also have a potential in that more orange space down at the bottom. Fire has identified need for more training space, so more classroom space for the firefighters. We could put that there. All right, so the big thing though is how is this going to impact the businesses and residents of Old Town during construction? So the first thing is traffic flow and parking for construction. It is a tight space. You're going to see construction equipment coming down Western Avenue or 5th and 6th Street during the construction time. We're going to be as upfront with you as we can during the process. We're going to notify you before any construction vehicles start. Before we break ground, we're going to let you know, hey, this is coming, and we're going to keep you abreast of the progress as it's happening. That's a commitment we're making to you. There is a possibility, because it's a tight space, if you own surrounding lots near the area, the contractor might reach out to you to use some of your space. That's between you and the contractor. The city is not going to require that you do that or get in the middle of that in any way, shape, or form unless you ask us to. Noise mitigation, the city has policies. We require all contractors to only work within certain hours of the day, Monday through Friday, and on the weekends. That will maintain here throughout the process too. So you're not going to have contractors showing up at 5 in the morning, swinging a large piece of equipment, waking up your kids. Dust mitigation, we have dust issues. We're going to make sure that the county is going to follow up, make sure that they're constantly doing it. One of the benefits that we have here in Avondale, and I just recently learned this, so all the county dust inspectors for the West Valley, for some reason, park at the Civic Center campus before they go out to their job sites. It's awesome because it means they're here to make sure that dust is really well controlled in Avondale. So we have a little added benefit. And then Belmont Water and Sewer, let me go back up here. There's a red dash line and a blue dash line that goes along that Belmont Avenue alignment. That is a water and sewer line that runs through there. We can cap it, we can make it work for the project. There are 2 potential impacts. So if you're located off that line, there might be water shutoffs, temporary periods of time. We will give you lots and lots and lots of notice before we do anything. We're going to be constant communication with you about it. The other thing is, because of that, we may have to chase one of those lines either down 5th Street or 6th Street a little bit. Again, we don't know the extent of it until we get a design team on board, until we really get the contractor on board. Again, we want to be upfront about it. This is a potential thing that might happen. We're going to talk to you about it during the project. You're going to hear a lot from Rick because he's a project manager. And then I want to touch on real quick, and I might pull Jamie back up here to talk about this. We recently had a survey done of Old Town businesses and residents, as the Better Block Community Survey. You just went through a whole survey about what you like about Old Town. We are not forgetting that. We're making sure that the architect has a copy of it, that they're well aware of it, and we're going to be referencing it during the design process. And then, Jamie, is there anything else I needed to touch on that?
No, I think that's great. You listed a few items that were specifically pulled from the survey and some comments that we thought would be applicable to the project. So thank you all for your participation in that process, because as you can see, it's kind of evergreen going on.
Yeah, and I try to hit a couple of those points, like the green space. We have that green space tentatively in front of the fire station. We can grow the park. We could expand it as event space during the festivals. Public safety is more visible because we'll have that building right there that you can see that's clearly a fire station. We can talk about color and art as we show you some other options. And then we want to make sure it's an historical look. We're not going to go outside the box and come up with something that spaceship over here. The architects we're bringing on, we've made sure that they're all well aware. We only want architects who have experience building fire stations in historical areas. So this is the opportunity right now where I want to kind of open it up for questions and comments. I do have a couple notes. One, please, if possible, keep this to the Fire Station 171 project. I know you don't always have city staff in front of you, but unfortunately, we're not prepared to answer every possible question about the city. So if you do have a question that's not related to Fire Station 171, please come see me afterward. I'll get your information. I'll make sure the best person to contact you gets back to you quickly. The other thing is we have a few questions up here. It's just really in case you're like not sure what kind of questions to ask about. They're just something to start to think about. You know, what do you notice about this? What seems most critical to you? Why is it important to keep the fire station? And then what else should we be looking at? We're not members of this community, so we don't always know. So please talk to us about it. Another thing I'd like to point out is after the meeting, and Jamie kind of touched on this, we have several easels out there. Hopefully you've already seen them. We grabbed some other historical looking fire stations throughout the nation. If you see things on there that you like, please feel free to jot down, oh, I like something, I like the color red on the number 3 fire station. I like the bell tower on number 5, what have you. Please give us those items. We're gonna gather all of them and we're gonna make sure it goes to the architecture team so they have that information. And with that being said, we're here to answer any of your questions or comments. Is there any at this time?
If you have any, could you write it on a little card so we can have you read them?
Oh, we can do that too.
That would be lovely. Or if Jason repeat it.
Yeah, I can repeat it too. Any questions, thoughts? And again, if you don't want to, oh, I'm sorry, Vice Mayor.
I just have a question. So what's the timeline for the fire station?
So generally speaking, we're looking at about a year of design and then a year of construction following that. One of the key points on this, and I think I presented this to you, was we need to tear down the detention center and police station first, and that's going to add a little bit of time to the project. We're going through that design process right now. Our goal was to have that building, the detention center and PD, open in fall next year. So once that happens, we can tear down these and then start construction on the new building. Thank you, ma'am. I missed that.
That's okay. But that does not, we'll still have a design team already in place.
Yes. Yeah. No.
But we can walk much further.
Yes, we're not going to wait till that one's done before we start this. We are perfectly capable of concurrently doing the design on those projects, and so that has always been our plan.
As a moving assistance, to see them out of our way, we're gonna.
Yes.
Thank you.
You're welcome. Thank you. Yes, you have a question?
If you move the police station, detention center, where police go?
They're going to go to the new police and detention center. Do you know where the resource center is? Oh yeah. It's about a quarter mile west of here. It's still on Western. It's just on the other side of Dysart. Tell you what, afterward, I'll show you on a map. Okay. Yes, sir.
I think there's some mosaics.
Yes.
Are those going to be preserved so that they can?
Yeah. So we are going to do what we can to preserve those. That is part of our plan. We do have funding set aside right now. So what the council member asked, Councilmember Nielsen asked about the mosaic outside the current police and detention center. So if you go out there and you walk along Western Avenue, it's tiles that you see a firefighter and I believe the emblem. And we want to protect that. We want to preserve it. So yes, we're going to be looking at how do we cut it away from the existing foundation, lift it up and relocate it. And we do plan on talking to council about that, exactly where you want that located at. I'm not making any promises at this time. We're going to do everything we can to protect it and make it work. But that is our intent.
James, I can pick up on that one too. I think we had a lot of already some historical discussions about that wall. I thought it was pretty fascinating that Chief Nanigan pointed out one day that that's never been graffitied. I think that's a pretty important statement about the value of that wall in this neighborhood. Some of the things we're gonna be trying to incorporate, the first slide that was up when you were walking in is a historic fire engine that the fire department owns. We're hoping to kind of maybe have that up towards the park area, have that antique truck somehow incorporated in the station and some historical kind of memorial built into that. It's the original fire station area in the city, so we've got a lot of history sitting in closets and things. We're hoping to get some of that on display as well in the lobby. And, as we work with the design architects, we're trying to get that in as economically as possible.
Yes, ma'am.
I'm not sure if this is outside the scope of the fire station, but if the trucks are gonna be exiting off, is there any decision on what's happening at the end of Western and Dysart?
Are you talking about the potential roundabout?
Yeah.
Yeah, so we've been studying that. It has, we as staff have concerns about that. I believe we're going to be having a presentation to council and discussing it with them here in the next month or two. Yes, sir.
Not a question, just a comment related to number 2. What seems most critical, at least in my opinion, is egress out of the station.
Okay.
It looks like it's somewhat addressed, you know, getting out onto Western should be a whole lot easier. In fact, exiting onto 6th Street is the way the fire station before the current 171 was. You exited onto 6th Street.
Oh.
And after that, then the question she answered is, or asked, Western and Dysart. That's a big bottleneck as far as, trying to respond.
Yeah, I don't know the exact details. I know that that is something that our engineering team, our traffic engineering team has been looking at. And I'm sure we can relay some information to council about that and get that information out. But if anyone's on the phone, the comment was just pointing out the criticality of the egress onto 6th Street and how that's a good idea, especially because of that's what the old fire station used to do. It makes a lot of sense. So thank you, sir.
Something else, when it gets to the design phase, is the visibility of traffic going down Western Avenue, especially eastbound on Western Avenue, so that the intersection of Western Avenue and 6th Street is not blocked right up to the point where the fire truck is in the intersection before a car going down. Perfect example of that is Avondale Boulevard and MC 85.
Mm-hmm.
Traffic leaving fire station 173 going north. I mean, I think they have since put preemption on that traffic light, but it used to be that before the traffic or the fire truck was literally in the intersection before the traffic going east on MC 85 could see that due to the walls of Littleton Elementary.
Yeah, so that is one of the opportunities. We don't know yet what the best solution will be there. Certainly by putting it where the fire station exits onto that intersection of Belmont and 6th Street, we could potentially put a signal there to preempt, to stop traffic going up and down 6th Street or, turning onto Belmont to get the truck out.
The station, like right up against the edge of the sidewalk, leave some kind of an open space.
I think that was optimal as we looked at options and kind of angling the station, but dropping it further down on the block to get them farther away from the intersection.
Yeah.
But it's just a safer design. It gives the trucks some lead time to make a little noise and get fire coming.
Yeah, the tricky thing is here, one of the desires, we want to make sure the fire station is visible on some way, but yeah, we will back it up away from the corner. We want that space that's there.
Looks like, so as long as they retain that green space.
Yep, that's fully our intent. Thank you. Yes, ma'am.
With parking being lacking on Western, is the new fire station going to have adequate or expanded parking and street accessibility?
Yes, so if you can see on here, we've identified plenty of parking within the site itself for the fire station, for visitors to the fire station. Even if we have an expanded training site that they could bring another fire truck in from another station, have room to park there. We also have the ability to add additional parking along 6th Street under this feasibility. Again, this is a very early concept, making sure the building can fit. as we get further and further in design, we'll have lots of conversations with our traffic engineering team to see what we can do to maintain parking on Western. But that was one of the concerns that was raised. Initially, we thought it would be really nice to have the station facing Western. I think she put it, the big glass doors like right there on the road that you can see it. But to do that, we took away 20 spaces on Western Avenue, at least. You know, and then there's concern, trucks turning out, you got to take away on the other side. This simplified things a lot and maintained that walkable feeling plus the parking on Western. Any other? Don't feel bad if you don't want to raise your hand right now. That's why we have the comment cards. If you think of something, please jot it down before you leave or after you take your tour. I'm sure if you just want to leave it with the team at the fire station, they'd be happy to take those comment cards and make sure it gets to the rest of us. So again, thank you everybody so much for coming tonight. If anybody's on the call, thank you for being on the call. It means a lot to us to come down here. We want this to be a winning project for the community. And we know we can't do that without input and communication with the members of the community. So thank you so much. As the project goes into design and construction, like I said, we're going to continue our outreach, pay attention to social media and our website. That's probably the best way. We'll be pushing out information constantly. But if you have specific questions about the project itself, please call the Development and Engineering Services Department. I didn't put Rick's number on there because he could win the Mega Millions this weekend, in which case he will not be the project manager. And that way we can assign somebody else. But I guarantee you somebody between 7 and 4, Monday through Thursday, will answer the phone at DES and they will get you in touch with the right person if you have any questions about where the design is at or what's going on with construction. With that, again, thank you. I think we're ready to go into the raffle. And then afterward, the fire team will lead you across the street for a tour of the fire station. Thank you again, everybody.
Raffle ticket. You did it.
Thanks for the presentation.
Do I get somebody to wash my car every week? Do I get firefighter to wash my truck every week? I've got my pick. He's a pretty good worker.
We are also working on a virtual portal that'll have all this information on our website where you can also comment. So if you know of anybody that wants to or if you think of a comment later, we can certainly grab Maybe. All right. Did you the honor? Should we have cheese?
She did all the hard work.
Well,
Yeah.